going to show you how to make this really pretty bracelet. Now this bracelet I started to make probably about a month ago. And so you're going to notice that my fingernails change in the middle of it. They change to this because this is current right here. But I start with different fingernails. It took me a long time to do this because I was caring for my mother and we had so many appointments and things. And she has passed and I need some bead therapy. So I decided to go ahead and make this tutorial just to keep my mind off things and keep myself busy. And so I have gone ahead and opened back up the website. I was kind of suspending orders for a little bit and I'm just going to get back to work. So this is what we're going to make today. And let's see if I can take it off first. Let me show you what it looks like. It's little units with the round pentagon beads that I use in several of my designs. I have them on my website. I will post a link. And if you do not use the link, look under the round beads. Several people have asked me, they've come on support and said, where are the pentagon beads? Well, they're under round. They're actually round. I'm calling them pentagon because they have a pentagon type cut. They're also called English cut. They're called several things, but they're round, so they're under the round beads, and you'll find a whole bunch of colors if you would like. I made a little dangle here, a little extender, and I put on a lobster claw. You can also use a fold over clasp if you would like to. Whatever you'd like to use, it would look really pretty with this. And that's what that looks like on the wrist. Let's see if I can actually get it off on camera. I may have to go off camera to do this because, you know, lobster claws, they're not my friend. So let me go off and then I'll show you what it looks like. So this is what it looks like. Really pretty. Let's get in really close. I'll show you the units even closer. And this is what the back looks like. It's really pretty too. This could be a reversible bracelet if you would like it to be, because this is the beadwork on the back is just as pretty as the crystals on the front. I think it turned out really good. I will give you some other alternative options for the beads too if you're out of the country or you just want to use something in your stash in the next section. So listen to that and you should be able to make this regardless if you have these beads or not. So go ahead and listen to that. Dig in your stash and let's get started. Oh, and I wanted to say thank you to everybody who has been so kind to me since my mother's death. Everybody has replied and so many people have sent me condolences. I'm sorry I have not had a chance to reply to all of those. I read them all. Two reasons that I don't reply is one, that I've been pretty busy with arrangements and things and family, and the other is I'm just not ready yet. So anyway, thank you all. You've been really, really, really kind. Mandy, thank you for the card, and Cindy, thank you for the flowers. You're all so sweet. I really appreciate it so much. Let's get started. Okay, for this project today, we will be using 11-0, 8-0, and 15-0 seed beads. These are all Toho. The 11-0 and 8-0 are the galvanized permanent finish aluminum, and the 15-0 is Montana gold. Now we're going to be using some round beads. This is round Pentagon, faceted crystal. Now, I have them listed as 5 by 5 by 5. Some of them are actually 6 by 6 by 6, but I just keep them under 5 by 5 by 5 because that was the original one that I bought and listed and put on all my videos, so I want to keep it consistent. However, if you do not have any of these, you can still use this pattern with a 6mm round anything. So a crystal or even a bicone will probably work. So you can use a pearl, whatever you'd like, that is 6mm round, fire polish bead. There's a million options. These I am using, like I said, the 5 by 5 by 5 Pentagon. I have them listed as round Pentagon, and this one is a violet with rainbow luster. Now it looks very sapphire under my lights, but it has a lot of purple in it, and it's a really pretty bead. And I will post a link for these. I have them in a bunch of different colors if you want some. However, if you do not have them, you cannot get them. You can use, like I said, all of those alternative beads that I have mentioned. Now, we are going to also be using some Nanofil. I'm going to use 10-pound Nanofil. You can use 8-pound Nanofil also. You can also use 6-pound Fireline, but I wouldn't go any heavier than 6-pound test weight, simply because we're going to go through these beads a lot. We're using small beads, and you want to be able to pass through them easily. And Fireline is much thicker than Nanofil, so stay with a 6-pound Fireline if you're going to do that. Even a 4-pound may even be better. Then we are going to use a lobster claw clasp, and I have several jump rings out. They're 6mm round, and I may just use one, and I may use several, just depending upon how my length ends up, if I want to put an extender or if I want a little drop chain with crystal on the end or something like that. So just jump rings and a lobster claw clasp. Because this is a dainty bracelet, you could use a little fold over or something, but you want your clasping to be little. And then I'm using a size 12 beading needle. You will want to stay with a small beading needle, simply because of the fact that, like I said before, these are small beads and we're sewing through them a lot. So a size 12 beading needle and a small thread, and then put onto your needle a wingspan to start with. You will have to extend more than likely during this project. If you do not know how, I'll post a link so that you can learn how to extend your Fireline or Nanofil. And a wingspan is when you stretch your arms out to your sides like you're going to fly away, and you measure from the fingertips of one arm across the length of that arm, across the length of your chest, across the length of the next arm, and to the fingertips on that arm. That is a wingspan. We will start with that much thread, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start this project, we're going to put a series of 8/0s and 15/0s onto our needle. And you're going to start with an 8/0, and then in between each 8/0, you'll place 4 8/0s. You will have 15/0 seed beads. You'll start with an 8/0, and you'll end with a series of 15/0s. So basically, you will have 4 8/0s with 4 15/0s in between. Start with an 8/0, end with 15/0s, just like this. And then you are going to bring this to the end of your thread. You don't have to leave a really long tail, but you need to leave a few inches so your beads don't slip off, and so that you can tie a little knot. So just leave a few inches. And then we are going to come back through the first bead on the tail side. So the first 8/0 on your tail side, you're going to go back up through that 8/0. If your other beads fall away, don't worry about that. Just hold on to the tail, hold on to the 8/0, and pull your thread through. We have a lot of thread at this point, so just pull it through gently, and then you will pull your beads into a circle like this. Now they're going to slide around while we secure them. Don't worry about that too much, but begin to sew through all of these beads. So I'm coming out of this 8/0 right here, and I'm going to begin sewing through all of these beads. So I'm sewing through 4 15/0s. I'm just holding on to it with my fingers so I can kind of keep control, because it's going to slide around and do weird things. Then where I left off, I'll just continue traveling through all of these beads. Now these 15/0s are tiny, they want to get away. Make sure that you pass through each and every one of them. And just continue. Now you want to travel all the way up to where your working thread, which is the side with the needle, and your tail thread meet. So now that I've come through these 4 15/0s, both of my threads are right next to each other, like this. Let me get you in just a tiny bit closer, and we are going to tie a knot with the working thread and the tail thread. So I'm just going to cross my threads and bring the tail through the loop that I've created, and just gently pull a knot down between my beads. You want them to go between the 8/0 and the 15/0, and then just tighten it. Now you don't have to tie a bunch of knots, and this is going to slip around a little bit still, but it is much more secure than not tying a knot. Just like this. This is what we have. The next thing we are going to do is we're going to sew through the 15 O's that we're next to, because we are now where our knot is. We want to get into the actual beadwork. So we're going to go down 4 15 O's and then into an 8-0. Now when you do this, make sure that you tug on your tail and you tug on your working thread. Don't allow that knot that we tied to slide down into those 15 O's, because you need to pass through them again. So this is what you have here. And then we are going to do a little right angle weave unit on this 8-0 seed bead. And we're going to use 11 O's. We're going to have 4 beads in the unit, but 3 of them are going to be 11 O's, and we'll use the 8-0 as our 4th. So we'll pick up 3 11 O's, and we're coming out of this side of the 8-0. We go into the opposite side of the 8-0 and pull these 3 11 O's down into a circle around that 8-0. Make sure you don't get the 15 O's on either side. Pull these down, just like that. Now this will probably loosen up and do weird things as we work, but as we go through and make our next unit, this first unit will be able to tighten and it will not get loose anymore. So now we are coming out of the 8-0 here, and we're going to go up into the 15 O's again, and then into the next 8-0 and exit. Pull your thread through and just give a tiny tug so that it tightens up this first unit that you've made. Now we are going to make another unit on this 8-0. Each 8-0 will get a unit of right angle weave. So you pick up 3 beads, 11 O's, and go into the opposite side of the 8-0 you're coming out of. If you push your 15 O's back like I'm doing, that helps you get through that 8-0 a little bit easier. And then just pull your beads into a circle around that 8-0. Turn your unit, and then again go through the next 4 15 O's and the next 8-0, just like this. Pull your thread through, give a little tug, tighten up that previous unit, because that's where you're going to secure it. So if you don't do it now, your units are going to be loose. Then you're going to pick up 3 more of your 11 O's and go into the opposite side of the 8-0 you're coming out of. Hold on to your piece, pull your thread through, give a tiny tug. It's not going to stay until you do your next unit, but that's okay. Now we're going to do the same thing again. Go through the next 4 15 O's and the 8-0 right there, and exit and pull. Now you tighten up that previous unit, and then we're going to pick up 3 more 11 O seed beads and go into the opposite side of the 8-0 we're coming out of. Now, we are finished here, but we don't want to do our next step here because this one, of course, is not secure. So we're going to sew through the 15 O's and the 8-0 here and exit this 8-0. So go into your 4 15 O's and just pull it through, and then go into the 8-0. Of course, you can do them all at once if you can get at that angle, but we want to end up in this 8-0 so that our thread is coming out of it. Now, just to make my life a little easier, I'm going to cut down my tail. I left way too much and it's in my way. And of course, I got my dull scissors again. And you cut it down probably a little bit more than that. It's probably not going to slide around too much right now. So let's do that. And now we are coming out of this 8/0 seed bead right here. Everything's secure. Everything looks good. We're going to pick up one of our crystals. So whether you're using one of these Pentagon faceted beads or you are using a 6mm round, go ahead and pick it up. And you're coming out of this side of this 8/0. We're going to go into the opposite 8/0 on the opposite side of the unit and go into the same side we're coming out of this one. So we're coming out of this side, we're going to go into this side. So let me see if I can get this and keep it in my hand here. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to find my opposite one and go into the same side that I'm coming out of this one. And make sure that you get past these little 15 O's. So you just push them back and then you can get in there. And now I'm just going to pull all this thread through gently and push this bead up into the center. Going to push it between the beads and then give it a tug so that you can kind of feel it snap down in there as tightly as you can get it. It'll kind of cinch these two sides of the unit together, and you'll feel that happen. And now we're coming out of this side of this 8/0. We have to go into this side of this 8/0, so we have to travel back through the center bead here, just like this. Sorry, the first unit is always hard to hold on to. I apologize. And then make sure your thread doesn't go around anything weird and pull that down. Pull it straight across. Don't yank on the edge of your crystal and break your thread, but you need to get a really good cinch there. And then go into the opposite side of the 8/0 you started in, right here. So we're just going straight up through and then through the 8/0 to secure that bead. Now, because make sure you tighten it and position your bead nicely in the center. Because we did that without adding any beads on the sides as we went in, you'll see a little bit of thread on the outside. So we're going to fix that by doing a 15/0 and traveling through the center bead again. The reason we don't do it first is because that 15/0 will slide down between the beads and we don't want it to. We want it to lay on top of the beads. We want it to be positioned on top of the 8/0 and the crystal, because that way not only does it cover the thread, it also makes a really nice effect like you have a prong setting. So we're picking up a 15/0 seed bead. We're coming out of this 8/0. We're going to go back into the pentagon. If you go up towards the top of this bead, you'll slide right through it. And just pull this 15/0 down, pull your thread through, and pop it down on top of these beads. I'm going to get you very close. We want it to slide right like at a diagonal between this bead and the 8/0, on top of it actually. And then once you have that in a nice position and you're coming out of the opposite side of the crystal now, pick up another 15/0 and go into the same side of the 8/0 that you did on the opposite side of the unit, and just push through. Like I said, push those 15/0s kind of down, and then pull your 15/0 down into place. And they can argue with you. Mine are sliding into place pretty nice right now, but they won't always, so you may have to position them where you want them. Now I'm going to turn my unit, and I have to do the same thing on this side so that it matches the previous side. So I pick up a 15/0 seed bead, and I go directly down into the crystal and pull my thread through and pop that 15/0 into place. Just make sure that it goes right where you want it to, like that. And then pick up another 15/0 and do the same thing on the opposite end here. Just go through that 8/0 seed bead, pull your thread through, and pop that 15-0 down into place. And this is what this should look like, just like this. And get you even closer so you can see those 15-0s really nice, maybe. Maybe. I guess that's as close as we're going to get. But you can see where I have them positioned. Now, I'm going to back off just a little bit, and I'm coming out of this 8-0 seed bead. I'm going to turn over my piece. Now, if you look at these units, you can see that we have a little, like 2 arms and a head here. On this, we're going to call the 8-0 a body. So we've got an arm and a head. We are going to go up the arm, because we're coming out of the 8-0. We're going to go up the arm we're right next to. And then we're going to go into the head of the unit, right here. Now we're only going to be working in the heads for this entire stitch. And you want to kind of keep track of what you're doing, because sometimes the arms will look like you should go through them, but you don't want to. And this is very simple. We're going to go from head to head, putting a 15-0 seed bead in between. So I'm coming out of this head. I'm going to go into this side on this head, and I have a 15-0 on my needle, and I'm just going to bring this 15-0 down. And as I do this, I'm going to kind of push them in and pull. Whoops, I'm sorry. Okay, let's do that again. I'll finish the pull here. So I want to be on this side. So sorry about that. I'm on the back. I have my 15-0 on right here, and I'm just going to pull these gently like this. And then I'm going to pick up a 15-0, and I'm going to target the next head. So I'm coming out of this head. I want to go into this head right here. And I'm going to hold onto my piece and slide my thread through to regain some control. And then as I do this, I'll just kind of bend that little unit down over the crystal. Now let's get you a little closer so you can see it. Now we have one head left here. We pick up a 15-0 and we go into it. And again, hold on to your piece. I know you can't see it because I know I'm covering it. However, if I do not, I'm just going to fling it around. It's going to confuse you more. Now, I'm in that last head of that last unit. We have to go to our first unit and go through the head on this side. We're coming out of the head on this side, pulling all these together. Now we need to go from this head to the first head we did. Now this is where it will look like the arms are in the way. So you want to identify it by where your 15-0 seed bead is. So look for your 15-0, which bead it's laying right next to, and go into that bead. That way you won't get confused on which one to go in. Just like this. Because those side ones will get in the way and they'll be confusing. Now I'm just drawing all this together, just like this. And I'm going to sew back around through these beads. So I'm coming out of this bead right here. I have to sew through the 15-0, this head bead, the 15-0, this head bead, the 50, all the way around. So I'm just going to go into the next 15-0 and the head bead. You don't want to pick up any of your side arms. You only want to pick up the top beads. And we're going to pull this through. I'm holding on to it just because otherwise I don't have much control. And then I'm going to continue around, just picking up that 15-0, going into the next 8-0. And I'm going to back up just a little because I don't know if I can stay in camera, or if I was in camera, I just don't even know. So let's do this all the way around. And we'll do a couple of units, so if this seems confusing, don't worry about it, because we're going to do a couple, and you'll be able to figure out what's going on. So now, my next one I'm going to go into, is this 11-0 here? If I turn it to the side, you can see the unit just like that. You can see the right angle weave unit that I pulled together. And that's where we want to be. We want to be in the 11-0 of one of the right angle weaves after we have gone all the way around. It doesn't really matter which one. You just want to make sure that you end in an 11-0 and not a 15-0. And when I turn this over, I can adjust this. Now, I think it just depends on whether you want your prongs to be, if you want your unit to sit like this or like this. And I actually want my unit to sit with the prongs on either side. So where the 15 O's are. So I'm actually going to travel all the way over to this bead. So what I'm going to do is I'm coming out of this one, I'll travel over to this unit so that I'm coming out of a unit with the 15 O's. And then, so all I have to do is go through another 15 O and 11 O. I'm exiting an 11 O, and that way I'm in a right angle weave unit. So same thing I just told you. I've just decided that I want to target a specific one. Now you can do it however you want, but I'm going to aim for my 15 O's when I make this part. Then once you've come through an 11-0 where your 15 O's are on the front, then you're going to go into the sidearm. So you're going to go into the arm here. Coming out of the head, go into the arm, and then we're going to go into the body, which is the 8-0. And because these 15 O's are right next to that 8-0, you have to kind of go at an angle a little bit sometimes. You can definitely get through. You just sometimes have to finagle it a little bit. That's why a size 12 needle is going to help. My little tail. I want you to see what my unit looks like now. I get it all arranged nicely, and that's what my little tiny unit looks like. Now that we're coming out of this 8-0 where the little 15 O's are, and see what it looks like, now I know this is how I'm going to be positioned, because here I'm going to put on my clasping, and here I will start my next unit. So what we're going to do to put on the clasping is we're going to pick up an 11-0. And then I think, do I want two? I think I'm going to do two 11-0s, a crystal, and an 8-0. And I'm going to drop this down. And I'll show you what I have, because I know you can't see what I'm picking up. So I've got two 11-0s, one of my crystals, and an 8-0. And this is going to give me a little extension for my clasping. So then I'm going to pick up my lobster claw clasp. Let's back off a little bit here. And I'm going to go through the loop of my lobster claw right here. And then I'm going to go back into the 8-0 and the crystal. And just the 8-0 and the crystal, like this. Leave those two 11-0s just dangling there. Hold on with your thumb and your finger to that crystal and pull your thread through until you can cinch everything down together like this. And that's what that looks like. Now, pick up two 11-0s so we can finish the other side of the clasping. You're coming out of the 8-0. You started on this side. You're going to now go into this side. So go into this 8-0 right here. Now you're just going to sew up through this again. So we're just going to sew through. You can see I picked it up, but I'm positioned to where you can see I'm coming out of this 8-0. I'm going to sew up the 11-0s, the crystal, the 8-0, and the clasping again. So I'm just going to go through all of these beads on this side, making sure I don't miss any. I'm centered in those holes. And then as I come through the 8-0, I'm also coming through the clasping. Get that thread all the way there. And then I'm just going to pull my thread through. Make sure you don't catch on anything, and just pull up through, just like that. Now, I'm coming out of my clasping here. I'm going to go back down into my 8/0, and kind of lost track of which side I went through originally. Go into the other side, right here. So we came up this way, we're coming down this way. And pull. Go back into the 8/0, making sure you don't get any 15/0s on either side, and pull through. Do that one more time. So up through your clasping to secure it one more time, and we will be back. Okay, so this is what you should have. I want you to see the back of what we've made. See how pretty that is? Each unit is pretty like that. And this is what we have so far. We're coming out of this 8/0 after our last pass of going through the clasping to secure it. Now, this is the most difficult part of this entire thing, just because of the way that the 15/0s lay against the 8/0s. Sometimes it blocks the 8/0 and it makes it difficult. But we need to sew through these 15/0s, this 8/0, these 15/0s, and get to this 8/0 so we can start our next unit. So you just turn it to the side and kind of scoop those 15/0s up and try to go through the 8/0 at the same time. It's usually the easiest way because those 15/0s get right in the way. Now we have to try to scoop into this one here. And this actually is passing pretty well, but I may not be able to get through that 8/0. So let me see. Nope. So that's okay. I'm just going to go through those 15/0s, pull my thread through. Let me back off a little bit here. That's a little crazy. And I'm just going to pull it through. It's not thread tight. It's just that the 15/0s lay kind of in the hole of the 8/0 because they're so tiny. And I'm just going to fix my unit because I squished him. Make sure he looks good. Just like that. Now we're coming out of this 8/0 seed bead. We're going to make a little extension unit so that we can start our next unit. So what we're going to do is we're coming out of 8/0. We're going to pick up 3 8/0 seed beads, and we're just going to make a right angle weave unit. So that means we're coming out of this side of the 8/0. We're going to share this 8/0 in our 4 beads for a right angle weave unit, and we're going to pick up 3. So we've got 3 8/0s. We're going to the opposite side of the 8/0 we're coming out of, just like this, and we just pull it. And this is what you have. Now normally you have to sew through a right angle weave unit or it just slides apart. We are going to sew through, but as we sew through, we are going to pick up 15/0 seed beads and put it in between just to make more of a finished, embellished look here. So I'm coming out of the 8/0. I'm going to pick up a 15/0 seed bead, and then I'm going to slide into the next 8/0 seed bead. And it's going to loosen up. That's okay. We'll tighten it as we do this. So just bring that down and give it a little tug. And pop it between those 2 beads, just like that. And then pick up another 15/0, go into the next 8/0. I'm holding on to it because I can control it much better as I pull it through. And I can maintain my tension that way too. Pick up a 15/0 seed bead and go into the next one. Right there. Pull your thread down, pick up another 15/0, and go into the attached 8/0 right here. And now we have finished that embellishment. Pull these seed beads into place. You want to kind of pop this one up a little bit so that you can get through it. And then we're going to sew through this 15/0, this 8/0, this 15/0, and back to this 8/0 so that we can start our next unit. So I'm just going to kind of turn my piece. Make sure as you come through, you do not go through a 15/0 seed bead. And I did. As I slid through that 8/0 the last time, I came through a 15/0. And up here on my embellishment, and I don't want to do that, so I just backed out. Make sure you're coming through just the 8/0 seed bead, and then let's sew up through. Otherwise it's going to tie your units together weird and it won't lay right. So pull this through. I've got a knot in my thread. Let me get rid of that. Slip knot, there we go. And then I'm going to go into the 15/0 and the 8/0 on the end here. Just like that. Now that I'm in this very top 8/0 here, I'm going to move this 15/0 just a little bit, just so it's easy for me to do my thing. And then we are going to start our next unit. So we have an 8/0 already, but we have to pick up all the rest of the beads for the first unit. So what we do now is we pick up 4 15/0 seed beads, an 8/0, 4 15/0 seed beads, an 8/0, and 4 more 15/0s. They're fighting me as usual. Let me spread these out so I can pick them up. And an 8/0. This time you will have 4 sets of 4 15/0s in between on either side of 3 8/0 seed beads. So this is what you have. You have, let me get another 15/0 here. You have 4 15/0s, 8/0, 4 15, 8/0, 4 15, 8/0, and 4 15. Just like that. Start and end with 15/0s. Bring it down to your unit. Go through the 8/0 seed bead that you're coming out of here and pull it around just like this. Now, if it makes it easier for you, go ahead and sew through all these beads and come back through. Because as we do our right angle weaves on each one, we're sewing through and we are strengthening the unit, but they slide around until we go to the very next unit. So, or the very next, yes, the next unit when we're creating it. So if you want to secure this unit first, go ahead. But I'm just going to go into these 4 15/0 seed beads. Everything's going to loosen up. I'm going to go into this 8/0 and I am going to exit and pull my thread. Just like that. Tighten my unit back up. Then I am going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads and start my right angle weave units. So we're going to pick up 3 and then go into the opposite side, just like this, and pull these down. Okay, then go into your next 4 15/0s and 8/0 and exit. And here is where you need to tighten that previous unit. So pull your thread until that's nice and tight, laying nice and neat, and then you will pick up your next 3 15/0 seed beads, just like this, and go into the opposite side of the 8/0 that you're coming out of. Don't pick up a 15/0 on either side, and come through. Pull through, I guess, would be the proper way to say it, like this. And again, sew through the next 4 15/0s. Exit here. Pull through. And I'm just going to reposition this so I can handle it better. Pick up 3 8/0 seed beads, or excuse me, 11/0 seed beads. Like this. And go into the opposite side. Now, this is the only thing that's a little different, is when we go through the next one, we are going to make a right angle weave on the back of this 8/0. So what you're going to do is you're going to slide through these 4 15/0s. Do not get the one that's between the 8/0s in the extension unit. Just come through those 4 15/0s in the circle we're working in, and then go into this 8/0 and exit towards the back of it and turn it over. just like this. So just go into the 8-0, you can go all the way through and then turn it over if you'd like, doesn't matter. And now we're coming out of this 8-0 seed bead and we're on the back of our bracelet. So we're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. Oops, I just dropped them. Let me get some more. So we're going to pick up 3 like this, and we're just going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 we're coming out of here. I like that. And pull these 3 down to that 8-0. Just like that. Now in this unit, you can, if you want to, go ahead and sew around it, but we're not going to. We're going to tighten it as we place our center bead. So we're going to turn our unit back over now. We're coming out of this 8-0 right here, and we're going to make sure that little unit is secure. Like I said, you can sew through it again if you would like. Go ahead and pick up your center bead. And you're going to go from this side of this 8-0 to this side of this 8-0, straight across. So go into this 8-0 and make sure you don't pick up any of the 15-0s on either side here. Just like this. It's kind of push them back and go through just that 8-0. And pull this down. Guide your bead right into the center and pull. Squishing your unit together like this. And then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to go through the center bead again on this side, like this. Let me back up just a little bit more. It's just too close. And pull this up. And you can see as I did that, my unit just kind of squished up together, pulled this into the center, and it looks really tight, and you can feel it move into the center of those beads really well. That's what you want. And then you want to go into this 8-0 that you started in, on the opposite side that you started from, right there. And pull your thread through. Put your thumb on it just to hold everything. Just hold your thumb and your finger on that bead and pull. And just make sure it looks good and you have the least amount of thread showing as possible. Everything's in there nice and tight. And then pick up a 15-0 seed bead. Again, we want these 15-0s to lay on top of the 8-0s and the crystal. So pick up your 15-0. You're coming out of this 8-0. Go directly down into this center bead right here. And pull. And pull it into place so it lays on there nice. Now, like I said before, the other ones went on there nice. This one's going to argue with me a little bit. It's twisted. The thread is twisted, so I'm going to untwist it if it will let me and get it in there. There we go. So now that's in there properly. And then I can pick up another 15-0 and go directly into this 8-0 here. Make sure you only go through the 8-0, just like this. And don't mess around and pull it back out like I did. And then just pull that 15-0 down. And now we are going to go pick up a 15-0, put that one in place, tighten the thread, and go through the crystal again. And I am going to get you really close so you can see how the placement is here. So now I'm going to hold on to my center crystal and just pull this through, because the thread seems to want to do weird things today, like tie into slip knots. Let me get that. And then you can see I just push it right into place there. Give it a little tug. And don't pull like crazy on these. I'm saying get it very tight, but don't pull so tight that you break your thread and make yourself crazy. pick up a 15-0 seed bead and go into the opposite side of the 8-0 we started in, right here. Pull that down. Now we want to keep this very tight and turn our unit over. Now remember, we have a body, 2 arms, and a head on these. We are in the 8-0 right in front of this unit we put on the back of our bracelet. So now we're on the back of the bracelet. We go through the arm of this one. Coming out of this side, we go through this arm and pull the thread through. Then we go into the head right here. So the 8-0 is always the body. This is upside down, but still the 8-0 is the body. And then, whoops, pull through. Make sure your thread is tight. Everything looks good. Your embellishment on the front looks good. And then you're coming through the head here now. And it's laying down over the top of your little bead there. Pick up a 15-0. Go to the next unit in the direction your thread is coming out. Target the head bead and go through it with your 15-0 on your needle here. It's going to twist again. My thread is being weird today. There we go. And then just pull it. That's how that should look. I'm going to try to do this one without dropping it. So you can see, pick up a 15-0, go to the next unit in the direction your thread's coming out of, and go to the head. Target the head bead. Pull it together. Then again, pick up a 15-0, go for that head bead, the next one, and I'm going to have to kind of change my position here. My hand is starting to ache a little in that position. There we go. Okay, so now we're in our 4th unit. We need to connect to the first unit we started in. So make sure, I'm going to get you close so you can see, target that bead that has the 15-0 laying right next to it. And go with the 15-0 on your thread into that bead right there. That way you'll know you have the proper bead. And pull this through. And pull it together. Just like that. And now you have to sew all the way around these beads again. So we'll sew all the way around, and then we'll sew all the way around. Yeah, I think we will. And then we'll come to this head bead here, and then we'll sew down into the arm and the body. So this is what we're going to do, is let's go all the way around all these beads. Sorry, I have to stretch my hand. It's getting mad at me for holding it like that. And then I'm going to go into this one and this one. So I could pick up like 3 of them together. Just make sure you're only getting those head beads and the 15-0s. Do not get the arm beads. And then go into the next head bead, the next 15-0. And like I said, I know my thumb's over it, but that's the way that I control my piece. So now I'm all the way around. I've got to sew up to this one because I know that this one leads to this unit that leads to where I want to be for my next unit. So let me back up. I hope I was in camera. All I did was sew around the middle. I'm all the way to this end. Now I have to sew to this one. So I have to sew halfway back around again. So I'll go into this 15-0 and the 11-0. And this 15-0 and this 11-0. And I have finished the back of my bracelet. And I can turn it sideways and you can see I'm in the head bead here, the 11-0 head bead. I'm going to go into the arm bead and go into the 8-0 body. So I'm going to turn it this way so it looks like there's the head, there's the arm, there's the body. So let's go down into the arm and then let's go into the body right here. Make sure you do not get 15 O's on either side because you will have an issue if you do. Just slide through that 8O, and now we have our second unit, and we're going to make our little extension. So we pick up 3 8O seed beads and go into the opposite side of the 8O we're coming out of. I'm going to do this a little bit quicker this time. And now I am going to sew a 15O in between each one. So I'll pick up a 15O, go into the next 8O, and you'll just take one at a time. So I'm holding on to my unit, and I'm just bringing an 8O down between them, just like this. And then I will pick up a 15O. I'm targeting this bead right here. I go into it, I'm going to put my thumb over it, hold on to it, and pull. Just like that. And then, again, all the way around. So I need another one. Go into the next 8O. And another one. Well, come here, 15O. And go into this 8O. Now, this is where you have to be careful. You don't slide through the 15 O's on this embellishment around the crystal here. You want to, it's okay if you get into the 15O that you just put on, but you do not want to get into these 15 O's up on the top embellishment here. So I've gone through an 8O and a 15O in my right angle weave unit here, and I'm just going to sew until I get down to this 8O. So I just have to go into this 8O, this 15O, and then into this 8O here. And I'm ready to start my next unit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and pick up the beads here, and then I'll let you continue making your units off camera. However, if you need help with it, just back up to where I did this one so you can watch that again. Each unit is exactly the same, so you can do exactly the same process. This unit is a little different because of the clasping, but if you watch how to do this unit, you'll know how to do the next one. So let's pick up our 415O seed beads, 8O, 415Os, 8O, 415Os, 8O, and then 4 more 15Os. So it's 3 8Os with 15Os, sets of 4 15Os on either side of them. Start with 15Os and end with 15Os. It's just like that. And then bring it down and go into the opposite side of the 8O you're attaching to. Just like this. Bring these around and then sew through. You can sew through the entire unit and then come back through this 8O and start if you would like, or you can just go into the 4 15Os, into the 8O, pull this tight, and begin your right angle weave units. And then just go ahead and back up the video until you get a real good grasp on each unit, and we will continue making these units until we have 11 units. And I'm talking crystal units. I'm not counting the ones in between of the right angle weave. Or you can just go an inch short of the length that you would like to achieve with your final bracelet. Since you have this end already on, you can wrap it around your wrist, and you can see that I have left mine about a ½ an inch short, not quite. So you can judge how many units you need for the length that you want. This right now is about 6 3/4 inches long. By the time I'm finished, it'll be 7 inches, maybe a little bit over. So I made my last unit, and then I made my last unit of right angle weave, sewed through, put on my 15O seed beads, and now I am coming out of the top 8O right here. So we're going to put our clasping on, and this time we're going to use jump rings. Now, if you're going to use a jump ring, a closed jump ring would probably be the best, but I do not have one with me right now. I'm going to use a regular heavy gauge. It's about an 18 gauge stainless steel, nice heavy jump ring, and you just want to make sure they're shut very tightly. So this one that I'm going to attach, I'm going to shut tightly, and then I'm just going to put a couple more on here just for an extender. And you can put as many or as few as you want. So I am just opening my jump rings from side to side. And I'll show you with the next one. Hooking it onto the first one, I made sure was shut tightly, and then I'll shut the next one. So let me grab one. The opening's right here. I'm going to place one plier on this side. I'm going to place the other plier on the other side. And I just twist it open, just like that. And then drop it on the previous two. Close it the same way I opened it by twisting it. I shimmy it a little bit, make sure it's nice and shut. Like that. And then I'm going to put one more. So I'm going to put 4 on here. Probably won't need it. This might end up even a little bit long for me, but it's a nice little element so that most anyone can wear the bracelet. And generally, I'll make them shorter. I'll make them 6 inches if I'm going to put an extender on it. That way a small person can wear it or a large person. But this is a small extender. So I've got 4 jump rings hooked together, and I'm going to attach the first one to my bracelet. So I'm just going to pick up, coming out of this 8/0, I'm going to pick up 2 11/0s and a crystal like this. And then I'm going to, let me back off just a little bit. Then I'm going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead. And I'm going to drop this down to my piece. Then I'm going to pick up my jump ring and go through it. Again, make sure your jump ring is closed as tightly as you can get it so that the thread doesn't fall through the opening. And then we're going to go back through just the 8/0 seed bead and the crystal right there. To close her again, I'm going to put my fingers together over that crystal and hold on to it and pull this all down like this. And then I'm going to pick up 2 more 11/0 seed beads onto my needle, and I'm going to go into the opposite side of the 8/0 I started in. Now it's kind of laying sideways, but I can still get in there, and I'm going to pull this through. Now, just like I showed you on the other side, sew back through this twice, and then when you're exiting your 8/0 after your second sew through, then we will be back. Just sew and secure this end twice. Okay, so I have sewn through twice and secured this, making sure that I have the opening of the jump ring away from me. Of course, you can always use a wire guardian too, and that will help with the thread wanting to go through the opening. Even if it's closed tightly, sometimes that can be an issue. So you can use a wire guardian if you would like. Just know that it adds some length, so don't use your 8/0 seed bead. Just go up into, from your crystal, go up into your wire guardian and then put your jump rings on. That's fine too, or you can rethink the whole thing so there's less length. It's up to you. Now I'm coming out of this 8/0 seed bead, and I'm going to tie this off now. So I'm going to go into the next 8/0. So I'm coming out here. I'm going to, I think I can go through that 15/0 too, and this 15/0 here too, just to kind of pull it all together here. And of course I had to catch my thread, so let me fix this. It went around my crystal, so I'm just going to pull it like that and bring it back in. I'm going to go through this 8/0 right here, and make sure I don't do that again. Come on, you. Okay, and then we're just going to find a little place to tie off. So I think what I want to do is go right here where this thread bridge is, right between this 15/0 and this 8/0. I'm just going to go right underneath and between these two beads, pull a little loop, go through the loop, and pull a knot down real tight. And then I'm going to sew back down into these 15 O's here. And you can go to the back of your piece and do it too. You don't have to do it on the front. Pull this down, pull it all together, hide my thread a little bit like that. And then I'm going to turn it over. I'm going from this 8/0 up into this side arm of the right angle weave unit, just to get it towards the back of my bracelet and not so much in the front. And then I'm going to go between this 11/0, this 11/0, and this 15/0. Right here, there's a little piece of thread, and I'm going to tie a knot. So I'm going to go underneath it. Make sure my thread stays between those beads and not on top of them. Go through the loop, pull that knot down between the beads, and then I can go into this 11/0 again. Well, let's see, where do we want to go? Yeah, I can go into this 11/0 here and the 15/0 behind it. And I'm just, since I just lost my needle, I'm going to go ahead and just cut that off there, and I will burn it down. So I do have a very dull pair of scissors, so don't laugh at me. I keep saying I'm going to get different scissors or at least sharpen these, but I never do. So I'm going to cut that down. I'm just going to put a flame close to it. Let me back off a little so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to get a flame close to it, and at the bottom of the flame, I'm just going to melt that down. Not light it on fire, but just melt it down into the beads. And that's my ending. And this is what this looks like. Let me back off so you can see. The back is just as pretty. You could even wear this reversible if you would like. It's a pretty back. It's got a lot of pretty beadwork on it. But I don't know how the crystals would feel against the skin. Shouldn't be too bad. They're not that rough. But yeah, you could do it either way. And that's what that looks like. Now I want to put a little crystal on the end of this just to finish it up nicely. So I'm adding to the mix a head pin. I've got one of these little ball head pins. I'm just going to drop my crystal on it like this. And I'm going to grab some round nose pliers. I'm going to place them right above the crystal, and then I'm going to bend that wire over the top of my pliers as I hold them horizontal to the bead mat. Then I'm going to turn my wrist vertical to the bead mat, and then I'm going to bring the wire over the top. As I do that, I will turn my wrist again parallel to the bead mat and bring the wire underneath the pliers. So I have a little loop like this. Then I'm going to grab my flat nose pliers. I'm going to hold on to it. I think I'm going to switch hands here. So I'm going to hold on to that loop with my left hand, and then with my right hand I'm going to grab this excess, and I'm just going to close this loop. And you can wrap it as little or as much as you want. I'm just going to take like 3 or 4 full coils, and then I will cut this little wire off as close as I can and tuck it in. So I will attempt to tuck this in. See how well I do. Don't crush your bead, just tuck it in gently. But you don't want it sticking out because it'll snag clothing and skin and everything else. So tuck that in. Let's get closer again so you can see what I've just made. I can straighten out my loop a little bit. It's a little bit bent. Straighten that out. And then I can just open this last jump ring that I put on my extender. So I'll just grab a hold of it, open it up, oops, slip, and drop the crystal on there, on the loop, and close this. Make sure it's closed well. And now I have a pretty little extender on my bracelet. So I will put this on and I will show you what it looks like. Let me back off so you can see the full piece now that it's finished. That's what that looks like. And then I'm going to go off camera and put this on. I'll show you what it looks like. And here it is on the wrist. Looks really pretty. So this turned out to be just a little over a 7-inch, probably 7.25-inch bracelet. And then I still have, I put it on the very first jump ring. So I still have this little extra extended extender area that I can use if I would like to, but this has a lot of movement. It's just about right. So it has enough room for the bulk of the bracelet itself, and it looks really good, and I like this little dangle. I think it's pretty. So that's what that looks like, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And if you would like some of these beads, I have all of the stuff that I used on my website. It's ggctreasures.com if you'd like to check it out. Otherwise, just use what you've got in your stash and make yourself a really pretty bracelet. Bye-bye.